Okay, this is Block 7, The Greatest Generation, Section 7, The War in the Pacific, with the section The War in the Pacific, 1945. The Americans have island hopped their way towards the Philippines. They have cleared the Philippines of the Japanese Army and Navy, and now it was left to have an assault on the Philippines islands themselves. Fulfilling his promise of 1942 to return, General MacArthur wades ashore at Luzon Island. There's General MacArthur, announcing, "I have returned." The capital of Manila fell in March after the only street fighting of the Pacific War, and the Philippines were back under American control. So if we kind of take a look back at the map, where we are by the beginning of 1945 is that the Americans have pushed the Japanese back quite a ways from what they had controlled at their peak in 1942. But they were still quite a ways away from Japan. The next target was a teeny tiny little island called Iwo Jima. Iwo Jima is located here. And the reason that Iwo Jima was considered a target was because of those bombers. Those bombers that took off from Saipan in the Marianas. If they were damaged over Japan, they wanted a place for them to land that was closer. And a calculation was done that every time a B-29 with its crew of 11 people was shot down, 11 people were killed. Could Iwo Jima be taken at a low enough cost in American lives to save some of those B-29 bomber pilots who had damaged planes that could not quite make it back to the Marianas? So an assault on Iwo Jima was planned. Iwo Jima is a tiny little island, but it is heavily, heavily fortified by fanatical Japanese defenders. The island was taken at the cost of 4,000 American lives, but compare that to 20,000 Japanese. The Japanese did not surrender. They thought surrender was dishonorable. Men and officers were expected to either die in fanatical banzai charges, where out of ammunition they would attack American positions in the middle of the night, screaming at the top of their lungs, "Banzai!" And would be mowed down by American machine gun fire. Officers were expected to commit ritual suicide instead of surrendering. Harakiri, where you took a ceremonial dagger and put it into your stomach, and then there's a way that you slice up and over, and this is expected to, this is what thousands of Japanese officers did in lieu of surrendering. Iwo Jima became particularly famous in American culture because somebody took this picture. At one end of the island of Iwo Jima is a small mountain called Mount Suribachi, and a group of Marines fought their way up that mountain, and then at the top planted the American flag. And this has become one of the most famous pictures of the entire 20th century, of the Marines planting the flag at the top of Iwo Jima. The island hopping continued after Iwo Jima. That you have to remember that all of the planners kind of figured that World War II in the Pacific would end with a direct invasion of Japan itself. That the last target before Japan itself was the Japanese island of Okinawa. And Okinawa is right there. Okinawa was defended by over 100,000, it's a larger island, it's defended by over 100,000 Japanese soldiers, and it is assaulted by a massive American, and you see the island hopping, we're skipping all these islands, to attack Okinawa. Okinawa is going to be the staging ground to attack Japan itself. It costs 10,000 American dead, 40,000 American wounded, and almost of the 100,000 plus Japanese defenders of Okinawa, there was literally something like a dozen who surrendered. The rest killed themselves in fruitless charges, killed themselves defending the island, or killed themselves by committing harakiri. By now, the Americans have reached right up to the doorstep of the Japanese home islands. The British have been doing their part, counterattacking from India down towards the Malayan Peninsula. The Chinese are, of course, always creating problems for the Japanese in China. And if you remember, at the Potsdam Conference in July of 1945, the Russians also promised to attack, although they had not done so yet. As this is going on, round-the-clock bombings of Japan are taking place, which reduces Japan pretty much to rubble, but still, there is no movement to the unconditional surrender that the Allies have demanded.